And welcome to Welcome Home Radio. The waters in the mortgage industry can be pretty muddy, whether it's investing, leasing, renting, home insurance, or myths and misconceptions. Welcome Home Radio has the answers for you, the consumer. And now, to help you make the right home buying decision for you and your family, here are your hosts.
And welcome to Welcome Home Radio, where real estate lending and learning come together. This is your mortgage market update for May 12th. First off, North Texas, happy Byron Nelson week. We are having a wonderful time at the Nelson with the Nelson moving up to Frisco. Should be a wonderful time seeing PGA if you love golf. And wow, what have we seen this morning? The inflation bomb has dropped. Consumer Price Index rose 0.8% in April, and that puts our year over year from 2.6 up to 4.2, the largest jump in the last 13 years. We are suffocating under inflation, and we're going to see things happen even more because we see that continuing to rise. Rents are rising 2% across the U.S., which is 1.8% up from previous reports. Where will inflation go? We do see it going higher, and it will not be a surprise if year over year growth is 3.5%. So expect inflation to continue, and we'll see impacts to not only rates, but consumer products, transportation, delivery, everything. Mortgage-backed securities released their mortgage application data volume, and volume increased 2.1%. Purchases were up 1%. And refis are up 3% and only a decline of 12% year over year. So that's a good indication people are still seeing great rates in the market. Today's show is on the pros and cons of the VA loan. And I want to give you a quick introduction, just a notification of understanding what we're going to be talking about. 20 million veterans call America home. And I believe it or not, 8 of every 10 veterans own a home. That's comparatively to 6 of every 10 non-veterans own a home. But only 13% of the veterans have ever used their VA loan benefit. Now, these benefits range from 100% cash financing, designed for home ownership affordability, 100% finance money, no MI, no mortgage insurance, and of course, lower rates. But today we're going to be talking, and joining us soon will be Matt Green, a Navy veteran. But 1 in 3 veterans are not aware of their VA benefit. And Alan, great to see you, brother. Glad to have you. Always a pleasure. But I really want to understand what is going on out here with only 13% of 20 million veterans are even using their home, but yet 8 of every 10 veterans owns a home. That means they are using the FHA, the conventional, maybe even USDA. What are your thoughts to this?
Well, I've talked to a lot of veterans over the years, helping them buy homes, and surprisingly, that statistic is pretty accurate. A lot don't even know. They go, what? So a lot of it has to do just, the people that just got out of the service, they're just looking to get back into their job or their family or whatever, and they really don't think about what the 4 years or whatever it is they served in the service has earned them. And
do you think one of the things that changed on the 1003 this year with the URL change of the loan application was moving the question up, are you a veteran or have you had military service or not? Do you think it could be one of 2 key items I want to bring up? One, that we're just not asking the question of military service. We're not asking people at all. Or 2, is it because the market driven that, hey, VA loans are not a desired tool for a seller to say, I want to use or take this offer? Is there that? I mean, what do you think of those 2?
There's a lot going on with that. First off, I think one thing that could be done, and I don't know if it's done, we'll ask Matt. He might have better update on that. But, when you get out of the service, there should be something you get that says, financing, VA loans, things like that. Good luck in your new career, whatever. So I could start there with some kind of exit packet or exit this or exit that, just to let a veteran know, because you got to remember, a lot of these kids go in at 18 years old. They come out at 22, 23, 24. They don't understand housing. They've never had to buy a house. They've lived with their parents, and then they lived with the military. So they don't really know about housing. And when they get out, they just are happy as can be to be out, I guess, or get a new job or start working. Now, for those that are out and already have a job and are out looking for a home because they qualify for a loan, that's a different thing. When the market was tough, in other words, a lot of houses to sell, not enough buyers, so it was a buyer's market. That's a big tool, that VA loan. You explain that to the absolute core about the 100% financing availability because you served our country. And of course, then after we try to educate on that, we hook them up with you. And you, of course, being a veteran, and you specialize in DD 214 alumni lender stuff, so you can really fill them in on all the different benefits, not just the financing part, but other benefits that might occur. So in a seller's market, however, it is different. It's not perceived either. It's real. A seller's market, I mean, as a listing agent, your obligation is to the best interest of your seller, not a buyer, be it a veteran, be it a FHA, be it whatever it is. Hi, Matt.
Welcome, Matt.
Can you hear me okay?
So
up a little bit if you could, but yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Let me see if I
yeah,
can.
there you go.
This video here.
So when you're out in the market and you have a veteran that's wanting to use the VA loan in a seller's market, it is really tough because the listing agent representing the seller is going, well, we want cash. We can get cash. Okay, that's one. Two, they're going to look for a conventional loan. The understanding with a lot of realtors, an understanding with a lot of realtors is less red tape, less hassle, more money down. People generally, if they're going to put $50,000 or $80,000 down, we won't have as much problem with an appraisal if we have an issue. Things like that.
Can I stop you there, Alan?
Yeah.
Expand on that, because I think that's important. I don't think it matters where the money is coming, if it's coming from VA or conventional, but you said something very critical, the appraisal. What is different about the conventional to VA appraisal that concerns a seller?
Well, let's start at the basics. Let's start from the bottom up. All right. If you're buying cash, there is no appraisal, not necessary. So there's no worries. Seller has nothing to worry about. Just get your money in a week or two, however fast title, and the county can do the paperwork. That's it. Now, if you're going to go to a VA loan or an FHA loan, you're a lender, you know this. On every real estate contract is a third-party financing addendum. And so the buyer is protected under FHA and VA in the wording of this contract. If you sell a house for $100,000 and it appraises for $98,000, then the buyer can walk out. Absolutely walk out. Very last day, just leave, go. Now, generally, we negotiate. All right. Seller comes down in price, $2,000. Buyer comes up with $2,000, or they split it, meet in the middle for $1,000 each, and we move on down our merry way. The other thing is, when you're representing a seller, if you have a conventional loan and they want to put 20% down, let's say, that tells the potential seller that, hey, these folks have money, should there be an issue. Now, generally with that much money down, you don't have problems with the appraisals, but it just is perceived FHA and VA has a little bit more risk to it than conventional as far as the seller goes. From the seller side, is that correct? Right. That's correct, yeah. We want the buyer, we want our military veterans to get all the benefits they're due, okay? And most of the time it works. In a normal market, it's a great tool. In an extreme market, and I'll almost say, and any other realtors out there listening, it's not a healthy market at the moment, in my opinion. I think people are overpaying, which is good for sellers, but it's also eliminating a lot of veterans and FHA people that can't get the home ownership, and they've done everything right. Blair told them do this, do that, do this, do that, and they've done it. And yet we go out there and sellers want cash, or they want conventional loan. They want money down. Then they want they want a complete waiver on the appraisal. Okay. And that of course means absolutely no risk for a seller. It's all on the buyer. If it doesn't appraise, the buyer makes up the difference, or they're breach of contract. That simple.
So, Matt, want to welcome you. Thank you for taking time today. Appreciate your service and coming on. I opened up with in my monologue and talked about, with 20 million veterans here in the United States, literally 13%, even though 8 of every 10 veterans owns a home, they're a homeowner, compared to the non-veterans, 6 of 10. But 13% of veterans are using their VA benefit only. I'm amazed by that number, because of all the benefits there are: 100% financing, no MI, good rates. Why is this happening? What are the pros and cons? And one of the things that came out, Alan talking about, first off, it was basically ignorance. They don't know of their benefit. They don't understand it. 1 of 3 veterans state they understand a good portion of their benefits. So that means 2 of 3 veterans don't understand that. When you came out, did you receive information, documentation to fully understand those benefits that you have?
Very little. On our when we got out of the military, we got kind of like a exit brief. These are some of your benefits. If you have questions, follow up with the VA. And I think somebody had already said, most of us are pretty happy to just get out and go on our merry way. So unless you're really looking for a loan, then it doesn't really apply. A lot of people are, interested in healthcare benefits or whatever else that they got going on that's going to benefit their family. Earlier, I don't know if anybody had brought this up, but I did a little research, about this, because you had asked me, why do you think that's the problem? And on military.com, it said up until 1992, the VA loan guarantee program was available only to veterans who had served on active duty during specific periods. And then after 1992, they opened it up to other people that were eligible, meaning, National Guard and some other folks. So I think that might be part of the problem, was it was more of a narrow group of people that were eligible. And of those, and of that narrow group, I think you're correct. There was a lot of ignorance. And when I bought my first home back in 1997, I was discouraged about using the VA loan because they told me, oh man, it is such a pain. There's so much paperwork. It's very difficult. A lot of people don't like VA loans because there's a lot of requirements that the seller has to meet in order for the loan to go through. So I think that has changed over time because they have streamlined it. And on my last VA loan that I used, it was just as easy, if not easier, than a conventional loan.
Well, let's go back to something you brought up very specifically, and I like that. The general VA applicants for eligibility is, I'm going to go down this real quick: serve 90 days active duty service consecutive during wartime. That means you're on active duty during a war. Served 181 days of active duty during peacetime. Been in an active National Guard or Reserve members for 6 years or longer, and have honorable, under honorable conditions, or general. Dishonorable discharge veterans do not qualify. Okay. And for spouses looking to apply, they must be legally married to the service member who died as a result of service-related injury. So those are the guidelines. As you brought it up, there weren't many. Until 1992, it was only active duty military that received this benefit. You are exactly correct. But then they opened it up too, because of the deployed National Guard, because of the State Guard, those sorts of things, as well as somebody that, retired from the reserves, receiving this benefit. So that does explain a little bit about it, I think. But I think more to the point, and Alan brought it up, of ignorance. And just like you and me in 1990, when I got out, I was like happy. Hey, I'm heading from Fort Hood to DFW, and I'm not looking back in that case. But the challenges of the new world, they really didn't set me up for success. There wasn't any bridging that's taking place now. I think there's more education. I think that's one of the things that has grown very well. But those advantages, disadvantages, just for information. But secondly, I think a veteran needs to understand, as Alan was pointing out, what are the impacts of using a VA to a conventional? In certain markets, it may be more advantageous to use a conventional mortgage because of the perception. Now, and you said it, well, VA loans are long and hard, and I've heard those stories. And I mean, my shortest VA loan was 21 days, and that included a 14-day process for the appraisal. So it's not that long if you know what you got. And as well as I've had larger offers than conventional, and they work out well. I think the appraisal on the seller side is the hardest thing because they are very hard on the appraisal requirements. The home has to be ready to live in. It cannot have repairs or negotiate a price off or so forth for those repairs. Got to increase the carpet. If there is major problems, they're going to be repaired before the veteran takes ownership. The second biggest thing I think veterans need to understand, and why a lot of them are not, is that this is your primary residence. It can't be a secondary. It can't be a lake house property. It can't be an investment property. It is only for your primary residence. So that kind of gives us some insight. But what else? What did you appreciate, Matt, from the process, as well as you saw a pocketbook benefit, didn't you? I mean, is that why I know you're very analytical. I know you look at the details because the stuff is in the details of the benefits, but what did you see and why did you go that route?
Well, in my particular case, I was going into a market in a state where real estate's very expensive. And for me to come up with 20% down, or, have a sizable amount, to make payments, I wouldn't have been able to do it, quite frankly. So for me, the VA benefit was really, really helpful because it was no money down, no closing cost. Everything was rolled into the loan. It was a one-stop shop. As long as I could show that I could make the payments and that I had a job and that I was, employed, I could do it. And also at that particular time, I was told that I could only use it once. And I'm not sure if that has changed. For certain people it has, but the overall thing is that I could use it once, and then if I ever had to use it again, that there would be a very sizable subsequent use fee. So for me, in my case, again, it was because I was going into an expensive market, and at that time, it was on the upswing, and I was lucky enough to get into a place where they had somebody that dealt with VA loans in-house, because it was a condo conversion and they were turning all these apartments into condos and they were trying to attract buyers. And I just kind of happened to be at the right place at the right time.
Well, I do want to correct that. But first off, any listeners out there, please put your comments, questions right there in the viewer. We'll try to get to them as soon as possible. You are bringing up a great critical point of down payment. One of the biggest things that is an obstacle for any home buyer, and Alan, I'm sure, can attest to this, is putting 3.5%, 5%, 10%, even 20% down. The VA loan does not require, it's 100% financing. It also, there is no MI, and no MI mortgage insurance, whether it's PMI, private mortgage insurance, or MIP, mortgage insurance premium, depending on conventional or FHA, that is a savings in itself, because some people end up paying that for a lifetime or for a longer period. Secondly, the funding fee, as you were calling it, subsequent use or so forth, for those disabled veterans at 10% or more, there is no funding fee. There is no charge. And so there's a huge benefit of saving of dollars. Now, there is a fee if you're no disability, your first time use, but your second and third and fourth, of course, that fee goes up slightly. But you can use this as long as you use it, pay off that mortgage, use it again, pay off that mortgage. There is no limitation. And yes, I received it. I thought it was a one-time use thing. When I got out, that's what I understood. So I was going to save it for that premium property. I was going to spend the rest of my life in, make it all happen, and ended up it was false information. That stays with you, period. So want to correct some of those question marks. But again, no down payment, no private mortgage insurance, and one of the biggest benefits I see to help out veterans coming out is everybody hears of debt to income ratio or DTI or too high a DTI. Normally conventional, 43%. Normally FHA, 50 to 55%. There is no DTI ratio limit in a VA loan. Let me say that again. There is no DTI ratio. If we get a DU acceptable, then we're able to move forward. That means I have seen one, and the largest one is 72% debt to income ratio I was able to do.
Wow. When I did mine, it was 35% maximum.
Yeah. So there are changes. There are positive things. I think the country is really trying to bring along benefits for veterans, and I think that's tremendous. And there is no prepayment penalty, ever. So it doesn't matter what organization, what has it, whatever, the VA requires there is no prepayment penalty. So if you pay this off early, it is not going to hurt you. There is no requirement to pay interest or so forth. So I think there's a lot of pros there, but no, it's not for everyone. The funding fee may scare you away, especially as it goes up to 2.75%. You know, some of these larger $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 homes, that's a large chunk of money. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times second homes and investments are what they're after, and not being your primary, that hurts. So it's not able to. And then sellers aren't always on board. Now, Alan, I've got to ask this question. Have you ever had a seller say, I would prefer to have a veteran buy my home? Or, you know, have you ever had that sort of requirement or request?
Well, when you're a buyer agent, you use all your strength, every strength that you have, especially in a market like right now where buyers don't have a lot of strength. Okay? So that comes down to having your client write a letter and talk about their service to their country, or talk about raising their family in this particular home. And yeah, sometimes that makes a difference. You catch a seller reading it and they have 5 offers, and they know it might not be the best loan, but by God, it's the best family. And I was in the Navy, you were in the Navy, he was in the Navy too. Well, that means something to some people in the Navy. Now, others, it's like, I don't care if he's president of the United States, he ain't buying my house unless he comes up with the money. So there's that too. But no, you use every strength that you have, and a lot of it is, I tell you, a lot of this comes down to is the agent. Experience has never been more important than right now when you're out there buying and selling real estate. There's so many curves in the deals right now. The contracts are being manipulated, all legal, of course. They've had to come up with different real estate forms here and there on things, and because of waivers, and agents are trying to write into special provisions, which is a no-no. We're not lawyers. We are real estate agents that fill out forms that lawyers write. Okay, that's our protection. That's what you should do. So right now, experience really, really matters. And if anybody's out there, I know you got a cousin or a nephew or somebody really might know, make sure they know what they're doing. It really helps your cause. That is, I'm not just talking about call me or whatever. I'm talking about get somebody that knows what they're doing. It's really important right now. Okay. So yeah, you use every little bag of tricks you have. If you have a VA loan, then you got work to do. You have to educate your clients so that they're not disappointed, burned out after 4 or 5 tries. Right now, I think we're averaging about 6 offers per one accepted, somewhere in that category.
Is that a lot? Is that a high? That doesn't seem very high with the number of visits I'm hearing.
It's high because what you don't hear about is the people that just give up. You know, you hear the people, well, I tried 10 times and I couldn't get it. Well, you don't hear the people that try 4 times and, oh my God, you know, every time you make an offer, you go home and you go, oh my God, honey, we might get this house. Oh my gosh. And you know, and you can only go up and down so many times, and you go, let's just renew the lease and relax, and you know, we'll try again later. So that's not in the stats, but yeah, it takes several. You know, I just did one. It took 2 times. You know, that's pretty good. 2 times is the win right now.
That is.
Yeah.
You know, it was interesting to me to find out the statistic that of veterans, defined eligible veterans, 8 of 10 veterans own homes. Whether they used a VA or not, 8 of 10. 6 of 10 non-veterans own homes. And I find that very interesting, that statistic of, I don't know, direction, responsibility, goal-oriented. Who knows why that is, but that's a very good indication of this is still a pristine market for veterans to use their benefits and to receive a benefit, even if you're looking at, you know, utilizing or not utilizing it. The rates getting certified eligible, as well as there's a lot of widows out there of veterans that don't understand their benefit there as well. I know Alan is helping, a wonderful one.
Veterans are the reason there was the baby boom, right? World War II got over, millions of service people came home, and like you said, they didn't look back. They were done with that. I want my girlfriend, I want my wife, I want to hug my kids, I want to get the homes. And then they figured out, you know, the cars are better, the highway system's better, we can drive out of the city, we can live in the suburbs and work anywhere. So suburbs exploded. And you know, my dad, one of those, he never used a VA loan once. Probably bought 8 or 9 houses before we just lost him. So I think there's a lot to it. You guys served and you know it, but we talked about this, I think, just before Matt got here, was these are kids, a lot of them, man. They get in when they're 18, they come out when they're 21, 22, and they're not even thinking about a house, much less a VA loan. Like, whatever. They're not thinking about a VA loan. I mean, let's get real. So it's the education process. I think it's better now. I think right now the awareness of a VA benefit is higher now than it's ever been, at least since I've been in real estate, which is quite a while. So I think it's out there more. I think we're all doing a better job, including Matt, a veteran who has friends and talks to people about this. And, and then there's you and your folks that do the lending. You know what a tool it is, especially you served, other lenders have served. And when somebody comes to you and they have no idea about it, I'm sure you're like, well, let me explain it to you. Here's what you get. And I know I certainly do that every week. I talk to somebody about, well, you could do this. Well, I don't want to do it. It's a buyer, seller's market. I don't want to do all that. There's another option. So then, that's when I hook them up with you and say, Blair will give you your options. If Blair says you can buy a house, then I'm the guy. I'm going to get you the house. We're going to find the house. But Blair needs to tell me you can buy the house, and then we go. And how you and Blair arrive at the best situation for you and your family based on your financial situation and your history, I'm all for that. I want to stay in my lane and do the real estate part. Let Blair do the money part.
There you go. We try to stay in our lanes, right? But I appreciate it. Well, guys, what else do we see? Because I think we've taken this, and I think it is an important topic. The pros and cons of a VA mortgage. I'm a veteran. I didn't use it. I didn't understand it. And now, I'm blessed that, I don't have a mortgage, but it is a challenge, and we've got to continue the education process. And I think it starts when they come out, but also think, like you said, it's through friends, relationships, awareness. I found out so much about my disability rating and the benefits from Matt. He helped me get there, and hopefully he can help me get across that 100% line here soon. But what else do we want to share real quick?
as you play basketball. Oh, I didn't say that.
What else do we want to talk about on this?
I have a question for Matt, actually.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When you still have friends that you remember from the military. You served with people, and you get close in certain units and things like that. So, does it ever come up when your service time is up? Maybe a month left, 2 months left, 6 months left. You're in Afghanistan, but you're going to be home in 6 months and start your life. Does it ever come up just amongst service people serving about home ownership, or is it not anywhere near that? You're still trying to stay alive or take care of people or whatever. Does it ever come up in your moments when you're not actually fighting the battle, or in your case, saving somebody's life medically or whatever? Does it ever just come up about, we're about to be done here. What are you going to do when you're done? Does it ever come up?
Very rarely. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think most people are just
disease. Come on.
Most people are just happy to get out of there, go home, see their wife, their girlfriend, and get on with their life. And I think the VA loan and the home ownership starts to come later on after that. And like I said, I wish they would have done a better job of educating people on their way out as to, okay, here are your benefits. Here's what's available to you, and here, are your resources. And when you get your head clear and you've settled down a little bit, go talk to so and so, because they can help you get on track with some of your other life goals.
I think there ought to be a big sign on the last building you go into as a military person that says, "Go buy a house, 100% financing."
Yeah.
Do you realize how many people that would help?
Yes, I do.
Oh my God! Financially, coming out of the service, you probably have some savings because you haven't spent much.
True. Unless you have a wife back home who's spending it for you.
Yeah, I'm talking about That's right. Well, that's absolutely right. But I'm talking about the ones that aren't, the young ones coming out. They're not married yet.
And they're buying a car first.
Yeah.
I know, but they don't know. I mean, I'm just saying it ought to be. They all know about buying a car.
Sure.
You don't even need credit half the time for credit.
No, that's constantly in your face. I think a lot of it has to do with I don't think it's being marketed enough, the VA loans, because like you just said it, I mean, you get stuff in your face all the time about buy a car, 100% financing for this, finance for that, go buy this fancy new stereo, here you're pre-approved for a credit card, but very, very little is said about VA loans. And the other thing that you touched upon is the age group. A lot of people in younger age groups, home ownership isn't as important as it is to people who, maybe were in my age group or Blair's age group, because when I was coming out of the military, I was fortunate enough to have people that were already in and had kind of given me the lowdown and said, hey, when you get out, remember you have some of these other things going on that you could, that are available to you. And one of them was a VA loan. And I heard it from more than one person. And then when I got to the point where I got to use it, that was where I got a little bit of a pushback, because back then it was still a little more complicated. I think it took a 60-day escrow to close my VA loan. But nowadays it's gotten easier since they streamlined it. But I still think that there needs to be more marketing for that product for people who are eligible for it, because it's important. And
I got to remember you were in California too, Matt.
Yes. and they're not as friendly toward the military there in the first place. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. So I mean, I lived in an area where there was lots of military, but the people that I knew were former military people and a lot of veterans. So I got a lot of my information from them. But if I would have moved to a city that didn't have as much military exposure, I probably wouldn't have known half of what I know now.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. Well, guys, I do want to let everybody listening know our next show will be May 26th. Find us on Facebook or YouTube at KVGI Media. Like and share, or write your comments. Any final closings for pros and cons of VA benefits, VA loans?
Well, I would just say, bring it. Let's use it. Let's go out and try. I mean, you qualified, you worked hard, you served, you're approved. Let's go try. Don't just hear the speak out there as much as is going on about you don't have a chance, because I'm here to tell you you do. I've helped people buy homes recently with a VA loan. So it can be done. So don't get down or out because you only qualify with a VA. You're blessed to be qualified with a VA. That's the way you ought to look at it.
I think that's well said. And if you want to get approved or you want to understand if you're eligible, please contact me. The number's up on the screen when we close out. Look it up, email me. Don't hesitate, because you do need to maximize your benefits of your service. And we're so grateful. And Matt, thank you again for your service, your time. Always welcome. A pleasure to see you. And I believe we were begrudgingly happy birthday. Is that right?
That's correct. It was yesterday. Thank you.
Well, happy birthday and thank you. Well, guys,
you look exactly the same.
I don't
not aging a bit.
I don't feel a day older.
Listen, I'm Blair Thomas.
I'm Alan Pace.
God bless. Have a great rest of your week.
See you later.